everyone. Today's guest is a talented band from Cleveland, Ohio. They've been well received within the metal and hardcore community with their songs inspired by video games. This is Killstreak.
How you doing?
Hello, everyone.
I know, Sam, you've been in a band before, and Brian, I want to say I read somewhere that you were also in a band, and pretty much all the members have been in previous bands before. So,
Yes.
do you think that kind of contributed to the fact that once you guys got together, you guys sound like you've been playing together for years?
Yeah, I both musically and otherwise, it's definitely helped. Musically, obviously, practice makes perfect, and I think we've all been doing our instruments for a decade, 2 decades. So when you're at this point, where in our lives, obviously there's going to be growing pains with any new group of people, but you're as tight as you could possibly be at this point. And then from a non-musical standpoint, we've all been in other situations, some great, some not so great, and you learn, a lot of from mistakes or from just experiences in general. So when you bring a group of people together who were in other bands and nobody was really had that primary project, and you're like, okay, there's a reason for that, and we want to bring everybody together, then usually that leads to something good. So we've been able to kind of take all the lessons we've learned and all the things from our past, and in this new band, come up with what we want and what we feel is the best from not just musically, but from a climate, social, all those kind of things. So Kyle and I think Robert as well have other projects currently, but this is kind of the primary for us at the moment for everybody in the band. But previously we've all had other bands that we were like really invested in. But the timing worked out when I got these guys together. None of us really had that one group where we're like, oh, I can't take on a whole new project. And because of how well we've done together and how well things have gone musically and otherwise, it's turned into really our musical top priority as far as seeing what the future brings and investing our time and money and efforts, all of it, into Killstreak.
So I know you, Ryan, you met Sam through Sam's wife. So how did you guys meet Kyle and Robert? Like, how were they brought into the band?
So Robert and I, we kind of grew up together. My dad and his uncle were like really good friends, and then we just so happened to end up going to the same school, and like we actually started hanging out around like 7th grade, and yep, ever since then. And then calf.
Ka.
I sort of joined when Ryan hit me up, and he's just like, hey, are you doing anything right now? Are you in any projects? And I'm like, oh, I'm sort of just in a solo project right now. I don't really have much going on. He's like, well, you want to join this one band? And I'm just like, and create something. And I'm like, absolutely. And I went with it, and here I am.
Yeah, and see, we got Sam, who's the scruffy motorcycle guy here. We got Robert, who's got the long hair. We got me. I'm just a normie. So we needed the pretty boy. We needed Kyle in the band. And
I'm done. And Kyle also happens to be the bass player.
Yeah.
I mean, Cartman would be sad because I'm just kidding, but little South Park joke. But that's really cool, and it's funny because there's always this phenomenon in the music community that bassists and drummers are so hard to come by. They're never in one band ever.
Yeah.
So that is cool that you're able to bring them on. It's pretty much like, hey, this is the main project. You know what I mean? So that's good that it's more of a priority for them. That's really cool.
I always have this thought too, where like drummers are such a unique breed because when we're growing up, at least in my experience, when I can remember when we're trying to like come up with what instrument we want to play, everybody's like, I want to do guitar or I want to do vocals or whatever, because that's like you're up front, right?
Yeah.
And I always am like, and I never asked Robert, I really don't ask any drummers, but I'm like, what maybe Robert, you can answer this. I'm totally taking over the interview. Sorry. Robert, like or any drummer, like what makes you go like, nah, no guitar, no front man. I want to play drums. Cause like you say, that's such a rare, there's not a lot of them out there. And that's why they're in a bunch of
relies
bands.
on the drummer. Everything relies on, if you don't have a good drummer, everyone else will sound like shit because the drummers keep time. You know what I mean? That's literally their job.
Kind of just, it's like, okay, I know I can keep tempo, so I'm just going to do it. I actually was playing bass as well for a minute, and I decided to focus on drums so I wouldn't just, half-ass either one. So I kind of did have that struggle too.
Not to feed Robert's ego, but drummer is probably the most important part of the band. Thank you, Ryan.
I'll remember that.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So I would say you guys are an independent band right now.
Yes.
Nice, nice. Do you plan on staying independent, or would you like to have a label pick you up?
We is a strong independent band.
Right.
No, I
Strong
to be
independent.
honest. So there are pros and cons to both. Being independent is great because we keep all our creative control, all of our rights, all the royalties. Nobody is in our ears saying we have to do it this way or that way. With that being said, being independent means we have to fund everything, which you know, is a lot of money. We're spending a couple $1,000s per release with whether it's studio time or marketing or everything like that. So pros and cons, and I'm not opposed to being signed. It has to be the right situation. There's a few labels out there that I really like. A Rising Empire's a big one coming up that's really good. I like Sharp Tone. A couple of labels like that, but there are also a lot of there was a good YouTube video I watched the other day about this, how labels aren't as necessary as they used to be because there are so many things artists can do on their own now from a DIY standpoint because of the internet. It's good for a label to be able to set up tours and maybe give you advances, even though I'm not a huge fan of that. But
yeah, you gotta pay it back.
Yeah, that's right. So at the end of the day, I at least for myself, I can't speak for everybody else, but I lean towards the independent aspect because I like to be able to have the freedom to do as much as we want to do without worrying about somebody else not liking that.
Or a deadline.
Or a deadline or somebody saying, you know, here you got to fit this quota and do all these things. And it's just nice to go on our own pace. But if the situation arose where a label would come to us and say, hey, we have this deal for you and it's, you know, very artist friendly, then wouldn't be opposed to that at all.
I love that term, artist friendly, because that's really important. There's a lot of labels that come in and then they pretty much just taking advantage of you guys, or as musicians, they take advantage of the musicians and they keep their masters. They put them in impossible deals for them to ever own it. It's really sad, but I like the fact that you bring up the internet has brought in a better aspect for the music community, for independent artists. We can promote our own music. We can get our sound out there. And you guys have already been a hit with only 3 singles. I know everyone's waiting for the EP.
Yeah, we're trying our best, and it's gone well so far. I personally, I like to keep my expectations really high so I don't get too high off of any sort of success. I am always like, that's awesome, but what if this, right?
Yeah.
Also without killing yourself where you're like, oh, we have to get to this. It's a good balance because you don't want to be that have that mindset of if we're not at 1 million plays, then we suck. Because then you don't have control. You have a little bit of control. We don't have the full control over that. People are going to like the music or they're not. So having a good balance between not being complacent, but also not strangling yourself with high aspirations is the best.
Yeah. And then also you have to kind of think about it like labels have this big machine, right? So they have someone like marketing and they have the money. So they can push those people. But the thing about numbers is, as I found, it's very highly manipulated now.
Oh, yeah.
People are able to fake it pretty much.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. Now there's ways to find that. Full disclosure, I'm a music manager for my trade. So I do have some of these tools that I'm able to use. There's a software I use that actually audits streaming counts, so you can see who's using bots and click farms and who's not. And now distribution, it's cool. And now some distribution companies are actually telling their artists, if we catch you using bots or click farms, we're removing you from our platforms.
That's good.
So that is good because, like you said, it can manipulate. And you've seen it before. We've all seen it where somebody, whether it's Spotify artist that has like 300,000 monthly listeners, can't even fill a 300-person club because it's not real. So,
yeah.
So you could try to fake it till you make it, but generally, for the most part, that usually comes back to bite you. And we'd rather do it as authentically as possible. So it's definitely more about who you know, but it's also about how you approach. You have to be pretty methodical with everything these days because their bands are a dime a dozen, artists are a dime a dozen. We're, we all like to think that we're unique in our own separate ways, and we are. But at the end of the day, also, because of technology, everybody can be in a band, everybody can be an artist. So the saturation of the market is huge. And if somebody doesn't like you, or you get canceled, or whatever it is, then it's no harm, no foul on to the next one, unfortunately. So got to use the most of our time right now.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of great bands that I wish they were still together. I think I was telling Sam about Vehemence, and they're not really together anymore. I wish they were. But how do you guys plan on, I guess, keeping that longevity? Like, do you guys see yourself staying together as a band for a long time?
Well, considering we're all friends, yeah,
You
there's
kind of
that
have to.
part.
There's that accountability.
Number two is, I would say, because we all like video games and we all want to touch on so many video games, and there's so many video games, and we just got to make songs about all of them. So it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And it's like, I don't know about these guys. I'm pretty sure they're on the same boat. Or it's like there's this checklist of goals that you just want to continuously keep hitting and hitting, and it's never enough, and you want to keep going and pushing yourself. So I'm pretty sure we're all on that boat. And so yeah, I don't see us stopping anytime soon.
No, and relevancy is so important right now too in 2023, when the attention span every year seems to get smaller and smaller for consumers. So you have to release music or content or whatever on a very frequent basis. That's more important than it ever has been. Normally, even if you were starting out, even if you were an underground band, you could release an album and then wait 3 years and release another album. You just can't do that anymore. I mean, our goal is to release singles all the time, and then an EP at the end of this year, and then maybe an EP at the end of the next year. So it's you're constantly, material has never been more important than it is now. And then once you get to a certain level, that doesn't become as much of a priority because you're touring and doing other things that keep you relevant as well. But at the end of the day, regardless, being active as a band is the best thing any band can do. Because if you take too much time off, or if you are too complacent, or you really try to, like, let's say you come up with an album and then you try to tour like 5 cycles for one album, it gets stale and people are gonna want something new. I mean, we took a break of a couple, maybe 4 or 5 months between singles, and people were on our Twitter or our socials every day like, when's the new music? And I'm like,
when are you playing?
When are you playing?
When are you playing?
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to know, when are you guys going on tour? Like, I've got to see you live.
Yes, it's gonna depend on the situation. Our EP comes out in October, and that's a 7-song EP. So we'll have plenty of material to perform. We're gonna have an EP release show. We already have some festival bids that are pretty much unlocked. Touring is an interesting thing because most underground artists, especially our size, or really any size up to A-list, they lose money on tours. Touring makes you in the red because you're spending money on travel, on techs, on merch, and we can talk about these merch cuts that these venues are taking, and food and gear and all the things. So you're always going to be in the red, and you have to balance that between how much in the red do I want to be, where maybe I get home and then I can't even make our next EP or album because I don't have money for studio time. So it's got to be the right situation. It's definitely an interest of ours. So if we get the right offer, then we're absolutely down for that.
Shows and festivals, though.
Yes, shows and festivals. It's funny because when you tour, you lose money, but when you play one-off shows and festivals, you're making a lot of money, and you're probably getting the same exposure. Because when 20 years ago, when you used to tour, your exposure was going city to city and having new people learn about you.
Yeah.
But you don't have to tour for that to be a reality anymore.
That's
people.
So true.
You look at, like, on Spotify for artists, you look at your top cities. They're like cities that you've never been to, or cities that are huge, Chicago, Dallas, all these places, where to have that amount of listeners in those cities 20 years ago, you would have had to tour in those cities. Now it's nothing but clicks. So it is a nice thing about that, where we're not spending $30,000 to get that fan base in that particular town.
And you guys can kind of figure out what cities are more important to hit, or not more important, but more marketable to hit. Like, if you do need to want to do a show, I'm biased. California be nice. It's closer to me.
Yeah, I'm Amber.
Yeah, so it'd be cool. I kind of feel like you said that you were a music manager, right?
Yes.
I kind of feel like, are you the one that handles most of the business side for the band?
I do. It's by choice, but it's also my
brains.
My anxiety is always like, I have to do this.
Yes.
Even though it's not like Yes. So it's not like I try to do it where I'm not the only one giving input. I want everybody to give input on all of our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less me kind of knowing the way around the industry, and like I said at the beginning, is like not just who to talk to, but how to talk to them, how to be approachable, how to build these relationships, and really just how you look at artists that have been successful and what formula are they using in adopting those tactics. And it seems to have worked so far. And the one thing I tell the artists I manage is like, I'm in a band that, we have fans and we have good numbers and stuff like that. And if I was an artist that wanted to be managed, I would want my manager to also have a band that has proven it, right? So if I was in Killstreak and we had like 1,000 plays a song and we didn't have any engagement and all this, then I think the artist I managed would have less confidence in me because of the tools that I'm able to do. So, yeah, that was a long-winded answer, but
No, I
essentially,
got it.
yeah, I try to do the business stuff without being too constrained on everybody else. I want everybody else to have as equal amount as input as me on everything. So
I could talk music business all day.
yeah, same.
Only because I really, business is my forte too. Personally, I was a guitarist first since I was like 13, and then I kind of started making my own music around 24 when I started working at Guitar Center. I was like, okay,
Nice.
like now I got to like meet more people who are into the industry without being in the industry.
Yes.
So it kind of gave me that confidence where I'm like, hey, these people are getting like royalty checks and I don't know their name. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what I want. But I saw that on your last interview, you said that you would love to get like a placement in Zelda, but you don't really make music for Zelda. But that'd be cool. So you guys, I'm guessing, are already registered with the Performing Rights Organization.
Correct.
Which one did you guys go with? BMI. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I like the user interface more. I don't mind ASCAP, but BMI and their BMI Live, which we will use when we perform live.
Right, you'll get the royalties from them too.
Yeah, it doesn't pay out a lot, but it's something. But BMI's for me is always, I've used it for any music project I've ever been in, and it's always the easiest for intellectual property and all that. So
and it's free, just so you guys know. You don't have to pay for the application fee unless you're registering as a publisher. You guys obviously own your own publishing too.
For now. Like you said, I would love to get some placements, some sync placements. Any music supervisors listening, we would love to be in some video games. But
right. Yeah, that would be the dream too. And I was listening to No Scope this morning. And I was like, man, this would be like, I personally play when I'm playing Brawlhalla, but like I could obviously hear it inside the video game. Yeah, that was Call of Duty, right?
Yeah,
I don't play Call of Duty,
I would love them to...
it's so relatable. I could still listen to it.
Sure. Yeah. So if Activision or what's the other company that
Ubisoft is one.
Infinity Ward, they partner. Yeah, if any of them hit us up and are like, hey, we want to use your song for a commercial for the next game, or even like menu music as an instrumental, I don't care. We're down for all of that. So just yeah, it's definitely, I think before this band is all said and done, that's something we really want to accomplish.
And I've been seeing a lot of vocalists be put on parts for video games, like Will Ramos. He did I think he's like the Rat King in a video game or something. Yeah. David Simone Signs of the Sword. David, he did a thing for a video game. I'm like, okay, all right, we make songs about video games. I'm gonna have to get on this.
Yeah. Look, maybe just because I know you more, I feel like Will Ramos definitely has like a run for his money now that you're on. No, for real though, because I listened to Lorna Shore a little bit. My friend was like, I think I said something about how Danny Filth was my favorite vocalist. He has like the most like voices that you can hear in one song. And my friend's like, check out this guy, Will Ramos. All right, but I feel like they don't have that aspect, like like a band's vocalist is very important. But so is the band's band. You know what I mean? So I feel like they're more so like, they kind of remind me of Dream Theater, where it's really theatrical and melodic. But you guys have like the aspect that I really like personally. You guys have the breakdowns. At one point, you remind me of Slipknot. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that on Nicole is Dead. During this one section when you kind of start like, not really rapping, but you know, it was really dope. It was really cool.
The call out.
This inhuman breach makes thoughts unclear. This one goes out to all of you pathetic cowards that try to push your agenda on the bold. I hope you all choke on your own teeth, maggots.
And then you can growl, you scream, and then even on Fall of Reach, you start singing. You know what I mean? So you can kind of do it all. So who are your vocal influences?
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's begin at the beginning.
Okay.
Growing up, my Uncle Mike always used to play Guns N' Roses and Pantera. So Axl Rose, he's an asshole, but I love his vocals. Phil Anselmo, he can also be an asshole, but I love his vocals, and I've always loved Pantera and that heaviness. The older I got, the heavier it got, and I started getting into bands like Suicide Silence. Mitch was one of my biggest inspirations. Phil Bozeman, Randy Bly, Ed Sheeran, you know.
Got throw in the pop. You got the clean vocals too.
But no, I'm like all over the place when it comes
Yeah.
to listening and just getting inspired by different types of music. But and then it's no secret, freaking Darius, him and I have talked from spite. We've talked a few times, and we get compared a lot. But I just when I was at their last show when they did the tour with Carnifex, Dead in My Arms tour, like, dude, I just relate to like your anger and frustration, you know, being in the Marines and stuff happening. I just, yeah, I relate.
Marines not an easy branch. My husband is Army vet, but man, the Marines got it the worst overseas. They had like certain restrictions that just didn't make sense. Like they couldn't drive, right? In Japan, they weren't allowed to drive, so they always had their wives drive. Yeah, in Okinawa. So it's just kind of like, what the hell?
That's
like
something.
It's just a little weird, but I'm happy you survived. I'm happy you
me
survived.
We all are.
I love your hair, by the way.
Thank you. Purple tends to be my theme right now.
I love it.
So, and also congratulations on your baby girl. She's so beautiful.
Thank you.
So what is your favorite mic to use, Sam?
This one. No, I like Sennheiser a lot.
That's my favorite. 935? Doesn't matter. Okay.
I buy it. It says Sennheiser, and then I scream at it, and that's about it. Studio goes. I don't know what Danny has in his studio.
Shout out to Danny Coleman.
Yeah, Danny
He's
Coleman,
our engineer.
Silver Creek Studios.
Yep.
Whatever microphone he has, because I've always been used to the one. I'm trying not to look inappropriate.
Dynamic and not condenser.
You know, where his is like this, and I'm screaming like this.
Yeah. More likely a condenser mic. And
it's stupid good. However, it hurts my head. Like every time we record, I go through severe pain, and I don't know what it is.
Just recording.
I could scream live, and I'm fine. Huh?
Tinnitus, I think, is the condition, especially because you're a screamer. You would hear all those different pitches when you're screaming.
Well, no, it's like this. It feels like I get punched in the back of my head. It's really weird, and it's like, and I have I'm a tattoo artist. I got a pretty good pain tolerance.
Ryan, what kind of guitar are you using mostly right now?
So I'm endorsed by Solar Guitars out of, Spain, France, somewhere in Europe. Shout out to Ola England. He's the founder. Met him at NAMM 2020 and decided to get on board with them because I really love the hardware they use. A lot of active pickups, which are my thing. Fishman's. My main guitar is an At the Gates signature. It is actually a 6-string baritone. So even though we're tuned down to drop F, I do not like extended range. I'm a rhythm guitarist by trade, so I don't need that extra string, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I like the longer neck. I can tune with my intonation all the way down really to E at best, but we like F. So I have 3 Solars, but the main one is the At the Gate Solar. And then I also have a backup Chapman Guitars, which is a really great brand out of England. And that one is a 30-inch scale. So I can tune down to stupid bridge cable type of tunings with that one if I wanted to. But I have a half stack. I've got a Crate half stack. I have a Marshall half stack. And then I use for my tone, very simple, nothing crazy, at least for my live tone. It's an Apex preamp. This is Horizon Devices. So Misha Mansour from Periphery, this is his company. And I use this, and it's an amazing tone. So
nice. I'm like a little bit of a gear freak, as you can tell by my questions, but
sure.
I've never heard of Horizon pedals before.
Horizon Devices, yeah.
Horizon Devices, okay.
Yeah, they got a bunch of different kinds. There's a smaller version of that one. I wanted to go big. It has a cab sim, so when we do play live, I'll probably not even use amps. I'll probably just plug in the front of house. It has a noise gate built in, and it has a bunch of really cool tones. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. And so that one also has distortion in it too, and it's an EQ.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got distortion, it's got gain, it's got all your usual knobs and things, and it's kind of the Periphery tone. So you can modify it as you wish, and I do a little bit, but
you do a little
I
modding.
Yeah, I like a little bit more of a high end crunch with like a low bass, which makes the chugs feel very aggressive.
It's kind of weird how I understood that. I don't know. It's gonna sound so foreign to people who don't play guitar.
Oh.
Hi, Kyle, Robert. Hello. Thank you guys for switching.
Trying to not run over his blanket. Sorry.
So I guess we'll start with Kyle first, since Robert, you have many more pieces in your set. So Kyle, what's your favorite bass guitar that you're playing right now?
My favorite bass guitar is my it's my 5-string LTD ESP. And I mean, there's not really much else I can really tell on that. Like neck scale length, I think is a 25. It's pretty nice, you know, tuned down to drop F. And I play that out of a Mark bass twin head combo.
Nice.
And then through that, I'll put that through a Dark Glass Microtubes X7 pedal. So
then,
just get that really nice drive.
Yeah. And then what kind of bass strings do you like?
I like DR strings.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
do you use like the Black Beauties or the
fat beams?
Fat beams, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how long have you been playing bass?
I've been playing bass since 2008.
Okay.
So not long.
Yeah, that's
pretty long. So yeah, a decent amount of time.
How quick time went, because it doesn't sound that far, but then you start to think like we're in 2023 now. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question I'll have for you is, who are some of your influences? Like, who inspired you to start playing the bass?
Probably Billy Sheen. I've seen videos of him growing up just doing bass solos and stuff, and he has a double neck bass, and I was just like, man, that's so cool. I've always wanted to do that. Like I liked the guitar, but I was just like, ooh, I kind of like the other thing. I like the low notes better. I just like the bigger strings, just bigger guitar. Bigger is better. So so I just, started with bass, and then did some drums too for a while when I started doing bands and stuff. But yeah, bass has been my main guitar inspiration. So
and he's not just on bass. He has a hand pan. He has one of those big flute wooden wind instruments. He can play like literally anything, and he sings in a band too.
I do sing in another band. Yes,
I was gonna say that if he didn't.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you,
what's that band called that you sing in?
It's called Ozolith. And we're
Okay.
kind of just like, we're a modern rock band, but we try to give a little bit of a 70s feel. So like, if you know the band Dirty Honey or Greta Van Fleet, we're trying to kind of go for that.
Okay,
So,
nice. Bringing back the Zeppelin
stripped down
tone.
rock and roll. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna definitely check them out too.
Definitely. Yeah, we're on Spotify and all that good stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I'll check that out too. That's definitely up my alley. That was my first reason for playing guitar, was Jimmy Page, which is just
really
so cliche. Cool. But I saw him performing. I didn't see him performing. I saw a live video of him performing. I was like, damn, he pulled out the bow on Dazed and Confused, and I was like, that was just like the pivotal moment for me. I was like, I gotta play guitar. Let me get one of those.
Nice.
And Robert, what is your current drum set looking like? Like, how many pieces do you have? What's your brands that you use?
Oh goodness. So everything drum wise for me is Pearl for the most part. I've had Pearl Forum and Export series for the entire time I've been playing, also since like 2008 actually, which is weird.
Nice.
most cymbals are higher end Sabians right now. I'm trying to make my way up before we start practicing and get everything upgraded. I have a couple of Zildjians. My China is a Zildjian because I just can't replace that sound. And then my pedals are also Pearl, the chain demon drives.
Nice. And then your drumsticks.
6 ProMark.
Nice. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I'm gonna ask you is your influences. What I know you also played bass too. But what, and we kind of talked about why you went to drums. So was there any influences that you had as a drummer?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a weird pause.
Actually, I mostly jumped into the heavier side of music through Guitar Hero. There's just like a couple people I knew, and then Guitar Hero just expanded what I was listening to, and I landed in thrash metal and kept going.
Yeah.
I was in actually a Rush tribute band for a little bit. Had a really weird background for that stuff. But we had like 5 or so songs, and then I started going into playing thrash metal. I was also in like a Black Keys sounding band as well for a little while. So I've been all over the place with what I've played in as well as influences.
That definitely makes sense for me now listening to your songs, because I'm like, yeah, you definitely got some thrash in there too.
Lorna Shore, obviously, but Chelsea Grin and Whitechapel were my biggest like drumming influences, definitely.
Nice. Yay. All right. I think that's pretty much all the questions I have for you guys. Last one. Who is your main distributor that you guys use?
I go through Ditto Music through a
Ditto.
label deal. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And then since you have the mic, Ryan, who were some of your influences for guitar?
So Mick Gordon. Well, yeah, actually Mick Gordon. I was actually gonna say Mick Thompson from Slipknot, but actually Mick Gordon too. But Mick Thompson from Slipknot. Honestly, a lot of Korn stuff was similar in that vibe. I really like metal that's influenced by hip hop. I think they both go really well together, especially modern hip hop, because it's just got a groove. And I would say not an influence, but a inspiration would be Tim Henson from Polyphia, just because I want to learn how to do all those things that he does, because he's just a genius. But really, honestly, I grew up being a huge Slipknot fan, and you can hear it in all my playing styles. Actually, I'll also shout out Rob Arnold from Chimera. That's another big one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Like, I feel like you guys have such an amazing fan base already, and I can't wait to see it expand even more.
Shout out to the fans. They're great.
Yeah, everyone loved you like right off bat. Everyone was just tripping out like, what sound did I just hear?
Without them, we ain't anything, so.
That's right. Yeah. So you guys, please stay tuned for more from Killstreak. I'll be listening to the 3 singles on repeat until then, but I'm excited for the EP. We
got demos going, and we are going to be hitting the studio no later than the summer to get the rest of the EP knocked out, and it'll be October before we know it. So
yeah.
Halloween.
Yes. Also happens to be my daughter's birthday month, and she's like a little Halloween baby. Loves Nightmare Before Christmas. She's just a little metalhead in the making. I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate you all for being here, or not physically here, but present. And thank you.
No problem. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.